God and country says it all because our country needs God. We need to put God back into our lives and give Him honor and glory. Tenor Jimmy Fortune toured and sang and performed with the legendary Statler Brothers for 21 years. He is the member of the Gospel Hall and the Country Music Hall of Fame and has entertained millions around the world. Today, God continues to take him down new paths, surviving quintuple bypass surgery and sharing his new albums, God and Country and Brothers of the Heart. This is his story. This is today's Nashville. This is faith. Jimmy, it is so good to see you again.
Well, Terry, it's good to be here with you again. It's been about, what, 4 years?
It's been 4 years. You've been busy, and what a year you've been through.
This year's been a little tough year, but God's been good and faithful, taking me through a lot of things that I never dreamed I'd go through. But He's been faithful and brought me through it every step of the way. So I'm very thankful.
Well, let's talk about that first, because then I want to go back and where it all started. But let's talk about this year. What happened? Because I know I was following it and praying for you and your family. When I heard the news, I was just, oh.
Well, I had a couple friends that had heart attacks and strokes. They were actually younger than me. And so all these alarms were going off inside of me. And my wife said, one day, I told her about some little issues I was having. She said, we're going to make you a doctor's appointment. And I'm like, okay, you can if you want to. I don't think there's anything wrong. So I go into this doctor's appointment, and I start telling him what's going on. I passed every test but one. He said, we're going to do a heart catheterization on you. He said, I think you might need a stent or something like that. And I said, okay. So we lined it up. So I go in and do the catheterization, and he puts this screen up in front of me after it's all over. It shows me my heart, which have 5 blockages, and one was 99%, the others were 95% blocked.
5.
And he said, I don't know how you're walking around. You hadn't had a massive heart attack yet. He said, we're going to do emergency surgery. We're going to take you right to the hospital down to Centennial and do surgery, major surgery. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never had major surgery in my life. And it was a whirlwind. And so we went in and had the surgery done, and everything was fine. Came through the surgery great. And I was on my way to recovery. Then I got hit with Rocky Mountain spotted fever and pneumonia at the same time. And that was just about 6 weeks ago. So I'm kind of recovering from that right now. It kind of knocked me back about 3 months in my recovery. But believe me, you don't want Rocky Mountain spotted fever. It's not good.
Well, what was going through your mind during this whole time, especially even when you heard the news, I'm going into surgery, they're going to stop your heart? I know what that's like because I used to do that.
Yeah. It was, oh my gosh.
Were you scared?
At first I was scared, and then I got to the hospital, and Nina came in, and she said, well, she just had put the announcement out that I had on Facebook that was what I was going to have to go through. She told me, she said, Jimmy, you wouldn't believe how many people are praying for you right now all around the world. And when she said that, I just felt like I was floating on a cloud. I had no worries, nothing like that at all. So I had to have the surgery. I had this, went into the prep room, and of course I had some of my family with me. When they left, there were some of the doctor, or not nurses there, that were getting me ready for the surgery. Gave me the shot, which only takes a few minutes, a few seconds. Basically you go out. But as soon as she gave me the shot, they walked out of the room. And I heard this voice say, I've got you. And I was like, I looked around like, where did that come from? And I knew that it was God saying, I've got you. Don't worry, And I didn't. I was like,
so you're at peace.
I said, if this comes out the other way, I've had a great life. I'm just thankful. And I did. I came through everything okay. And it was just, I don't know, I was so thankful that God spared me a heart attack, that I didn't have that to go through. And I remember a few hours later, they got me up to walk after the surgery, and I walked, and I was just eager to get back, get going. And when I got home for the first time, I sat on my back porch, and of course it was during a cold time of the year. But I sat on my back porch, and when I sat there, the sun was shining right down on me, and the beautiful white puffy clouds and a blue sky. And I just broke down and started just thanking God, just thankful. And I've been that way ever since, trying to come up with words to say thank you. And I can't come up with the words, but I know He knows. I'm very thankful that He brought me through it. And I felt like He still has things for me to do. The purpose of my life has been to lift God up, lift Jesus, to say how important He is in our lives. We need Him today. We've always needed Him. But in today's world, we need people not to be ashamed to talk about Jesus. And I'm not ashamed to talk about it because of the things that if you could be me and not be thankful and say how important He is to us in our lives, then something's very, very wrong with you, I think.
Let's go back to where it started and how you were raised when you knew Jesus, the Statler Brothers. So let's just kind of go back a little bit.
My family sang since I was a little kid. I'm number 7 of 9 children. We sang in church and things like that. So it kind of led me to going out eventually, getting my first guitar, having a band, and then going out and playing clubs for a lot of years, about 10 years of my life, doing cover music in all these places. And of course, I knew about God. I knew I joined a church when I was 9 years old and knew about Jesus. It was more of a head knowledge than it was. But my life started falling apart about 1993. I had some things in my life that I needed to deal with. My family, my daddy was dying of cancer, and my family life was falling apart.
How old were you then?
Oh, let's see.
About this time.
It was 1993, so I was born in 55, so what would that be?
So you were already, were you married then?
Oh yeah, I had married,
okay,
and I had 7 children. And so all that was kind of falling apart. I was trying to put it back together, but I was on the road, and I just didn't have time to be home to put things together. I wrote a song called "Too Much on My Heart," which kind of was brought on by that situation. So anyway, we were on the road with the Statler Brothers. I was leaving to go on the road, and all this stuff was happening. I didn't want to go. I just wanted to stay home. I was putting one foot in front of the other. I remember we stopped in Little Rock, Arkansas. This was around March 1993. I remember I was just so depressed and just down, just so down. But it was about 2 a.m. I'm walking to find my room. It's foggy, and this hotel out in the middle of nowhere, but it was in Little Rock, Arkansas. I found my way to this room, and I went in, and I just felt like so down. I understood if I didn't know Christ and I had enough knowledge in my heart about being a Christian and what it meant to be from my mama, instilling that in me. I know how people think about suicide and things like that. To me, it was such a selfish thing, that I would never do that, and I knew that in my heart. But people do because they get certain things going on in their mind, and it just takes over. And sometimes I think they're not responsible for that, but they do it anyway. So I'm not putting people down for doing that because I do understand that. But for me, I sat on the side of the bed, turned on my lamp, and beside the bed, and there was a Gideon Bible, and it was opened up, and it was laying there, and I'm like, why is that open? And so I just looked at it. I said, what does God have to say to me? And it said, it was Jeremiah 5, chapter 25, verse 25. It was said, your sins and your iniquities have kept good things from you. And I sat down on the side of the bed, and I said, whoa. I felt like Jesus was sitting right next to me. And I felt like I was crying, I was looking down, and I felt like if I looked at him there, I would see him. I really did. I just felt that he was that real. And then I said, no, I'm not going to look at you, because if I look, I'm doubting that you're there. I said, I know you're there. I don't have to look. And at that moment, I said, Jesus, come into my heart. It starts with me. It doesn't start with anybody else. All these other things and all these other people in my life that were doing things that I would say, oh, I got to do this because they're doing it, or I got to do this because whatever. It was me. I had to clean up. And so I said, come into every room of my heart. Just don't come into the living room, because there's things back there in their bedrooms and everything else that I don't want you to see, but I want you to see it all. And he did see it all. I knew he could see it anyway. But go in there and clean them out for me, please. Just every little thing, I'd give it to him. He said, look past the sin and look at me. And he would always have his arms out like this. Give it to me. So I did. And he began to clean my life up and change my life. I lost my father still. They were the things I prayed for I didn't want to lose. My family, marriage, I didn't save that either. But he began to give me the things that I needed instead of the things I wanted.
And you know, Jimmy, we're going to talk about it when we come back.